to Resolution 552-14.
Resolution 552-14 grants a variance from Chapter 3, Section 3-12A, Hawaii County Code 1983, 2005 edition as amended to allow one ground sign on 48-5370 Honoka'a Waipio Road, tax map key 4-8-006:043, zoned A, agricultural district. The applicant, Colleen Gold, requests a sign variance for one sign to be placed at the Waipio Cookhouse location on Honoka'a Waipio Road in Honoka'a. Reference Communication 1081, introduced by Mr. Kanuha by request.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 552-14 and send to Council with a positive recommendation? It's been moved by Mr. Iligan, seconded by Mr. Kern. Is there any discussion? Ms. Ford. And just to let applicant is in Hilo.
Excellent. Would the applicant please come forward to the testifiers table? Okay. Gentlemen, could you make sure your microphones are turned on by pushing the bar on the base? And I have a question for, please, first of all, identify yourselves by name and your affiliation with this project.
My name is Larry Vidlak. I am a member of the Cookhouse LLC, which is doing business as the Waipio Cookhouse.
I am Neil Erickson from the Hawaii County Department of Public Works Building Division.
Oops, thank you very much, gentlemen. First of all, I'm looking at the pictures that you submitted, and I see these two extremely tall white poles to indicate the location of the sign. But what I was not able to figure out is, are you going to go to the top of those two poles to put the sign up so that it's visible above the bank as you're traveling eastward, or is it going to be a ground sign sitting on that bank at the location?
It would have to be raised a little bit. I believe we put in a 6-foot high post above in the ground, and the sign is going to be a 4x8. 32 square feet. That's what we're asking for the variance. The poles will be with the guinea grass and stuff. You have to clear a little bit off the ground. You know, the grass is in front. It is in an area where there's vegetation growing, and to be able to have a clear view of it, you would have to be at least a couple feet off the ground.
So it's going to be 2 feet off the ground, and then it's going to be 8 feet across and 4 feet high?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, because your picture on the last picture, which shows the lettering and information on the sign, if it's 8 feet across, it's about 8 feat high because of the spacing that you've got here. So
that can be,
I'm looking, this looks...
That can be changed, ma'am. That can be changed to equal. The biggest thing I understand is 32 square feet as a 4x8, and that would be all a 4x8 sign. Yes. I see on the when we did submit it, we were looking at 1x8 boards that would equal 32 square feet.
Mr. Erickson, I notice, I notice in here that the Department of Public Works is apparently not recommending this. They're saying it should be 8 square feet, period, because it's an ag district. Has the Department of Public Works changed its mind?
No, I believe that was our recommendation, and that's why he's had to come before you as for a variance request.
Okay, so is the answer no?
That's correct. The code only allows 8 square feet for agricultural use.
All right. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Ms. Poindexter.
Yeah. I have to respect the recommendations. I always have. And our last, with
some of the signage, we had them go back and reapply and fix it. So, you know, I respect what you're trying to do and all, but I also have to respect the recommendations. So I'm going to, again, I'm going to respect the recommendations, and I want to listen to what the rest of the council has to say. So I'll yield at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Is there any other discussion? Ms. Willie.
Yeah, I have concerns as well. I've actually been spending quite a bit of time going around in my district talking about signs, and I do appreciate that sometimes the current 4x8 in ag zones is not always adequate, but I think when you look at your sign, for me, you really have to, all these negative spaces are really part of the size. I guess what my bottom line is, I'd probably be willing to look at somewhat of a variance, but this is truthfully larger than like going to the growth management group in North Kohala and the different groups. This is larger than even where they're what we've been looking at to change. So I'm not opposed to doing some kind of variance, but this is more than I would be going along with at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Willie. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I'm going to leave the applicant with hearing the concerns. Would you like to respond?
Yes, if I could.
Oh, is that Mr. Onishi that wanted to talk?
Yeah, please, just one fast one. I just have for the applicant, Lawrence?
Larry, yes.
Larry. Yeah, so you have these pictures, the ones from the roadway to where you wanted to put the signs.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible for you guys to clear out that area?
To make them... To make it more clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can weed eat that down, and I could use something to keep the grasses down. That's not a problem. Obviously it's been a mistake on my part to give that negative space between the signs, and I'd be very interested into making that so it's acceptable. If I answered your question, could I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Make a statement?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for this. According to planning and zoning, we are considered an agricultural-based commercial under Section HRS 205-2, Section 15, and the restaurant we're putting in has to meet all the standards of commercial businesses. And with this being a commercial, agricultural-based commercial that was enacted in 2012, we were the first like it on the island, from what I understand. And that's why we're asking for a variance to be upgraded from the agricultural to the commercial. And I'd be more than willing to make this so that it would be acceptable by the council, so that the traffic can safely read what we are offering going by at 45 miles an hour. Thank you.
Okay. I yield, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Onishi. Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think this is another one of those issues where I think 4x8 is a pretty big sign. I do think the 8 square feet is relatively small, especially in an area where they are permitted for it, and with the traffic going by, there's that balance to create. I think it's the building department's job to recommend the negative approval, just because it's code. We set the policy. That's what they're supposed to do. What if we tried to do something and either leave it to him to see what he could scale it down to and make that final ask, or see what maybe we would be okay with? Because personally, I would be okay with a little bit bigger sign there. A 4x8 sign is huge. So for this area. So I'm open to, I have a little bit of latitude myself in it, maybe 16 square feet. You know, it's a, 2x8? Something like that. So I think it's, I think the applicant's probably asking for a little bit much here, and it's going to be what he asked for that we'll either vote up or down or not at all. So I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. Ms. Eoff.
Thank you. It's confusing when we see a picture that isn't really what the proposal is before us. It's hard to make a decision. So I'm not sure if the applicant would like to resubmit their sign and we start to look at something that's realistic. Obviously, the council doesn't support 32 square feet. I'm not sure what you'd like to do, but it's just confusing for me personally to try and understand what you're asking for when the picture doesn't resemble what you're describing, and what you're describing doesn't meet our code. So, thank you. I will yield to Ms. Poindexter.
Thank you, Ms. Eoff. Ms. Poindexter.
Ms. Poindexter.
Yeah, it does concern me that the sign is the size of a sheet of plywood. And I look at the area, and I was born and raised Hamakua. I just never moved into the district. My mother was born and raised in that area. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I still need to get a hold of some of the landowners there and some of the feedback from the community associations there. But this is a beautiful area where you have the sign. It can be very, very well done if it's landscaped in the right way. And I know it can, because you don't need a huge sign. I feel like it kind of reminds me of driving through Hilo town when I'm going to Lincoln Park and I see the guy with the signs in the back of his truck. So I don't feel comfortable with that, and I feel what the recommendations were negative, and rightfully so. But if you would come back, definitely, and come back with a different design, and and look at that area, because it could be very well manicured there, and like I said, the landscaping. It's a beautiful place to put a nice, smaller sign that still could be eye-catching, because to me the sign too looks real busy. If I'm driving past there, I'm going to literally have to stop to go, really try to read everything on there. But so I'm not supporting it the way it is, but feel free to come back and we can talk. So thank you. Aloha.
Thank you, Ms. Poindexter. I thought I saw Ms. Willie.
Yeah, I just wondered, sort of maybe could withdraw, or if they can postpone or ask for postponement. I think it's important for me that the picture really represent the size that they're actually going from, and that's the starting point. I see this as at least 8 by 10 if you were to really measure down from the top of all of the boards, or that's what it appears to me. So I'm not opposed to some variance, but I do think that if we were to see signs such as this all along that way, it would just be really contrary, certainly, from all the input that I have received around my district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Willie. Mr. Kern.
Thank you. So I think the applicant has a feel of maybe where we're at. I think he should come back with something that is still an ask, but reasonable and tasteful, and we probably get some traction. So we either have the option to postpone, or the applicant can say he doesn't want to postpone, and we can just vote up or down on it. Or the applicant can withdraw, correct? And bring it back in. I'm not sure what the best thing for the applicant to do is. Any feedback?
Yeah. May I ask a question?
Sure.
Are you finished?
Was that a rhetorical question?
It was more of a question of what
would you like to ask him if he'd like to ask us to postpone? Or
I have a point of clarification.
Yeah, okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Ms. Ford.
All right. Mr. Chair, I agree with Mr. Kern's options that he's presented to us, but if this has already gone through the DPW and gotten this recommendation, it seems to me
that the appropriate way to handle is just to have the applicant withdraw this and start over again, because all of this information, except for the TMK map, doesn't fit whatever's going to be there. And so I would, rather than just, have a bunch of new stuff, I don't know. I just seems like it should be withdrawn and they should start over again and deal with DP.
Thanks for that input. Mr. Erickson, if the applicant came in with a different sign that was larger than what the code suggests, would the department ever change their recommendation?
Like you said earlier, it's our position to enforce the code. So you're right. We would probably not recommend. I wanted to point out, but maybe it's out of place, that a 32 square foot sign is acceptable in an ag district on the wall. So that's where he came up with this number. So I agree that something smaller may be more applicable, and certainly maybe not as high. One sign, not 4 individual pieces. And I think the applicant has already indicated that he's willing to make changes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's my point. If he comes back and says he wants to sign 8.1 square feet, the department's still going to say no, because that's just their. We can say yes, and that's why he's here, and that's why we have this system in place. So leave that to the applicant. I mean, the applicant, would you rather us postpone it and you got to resubmit, or would you just rather withdraw and come back and submit something clean that's probably palatable to us?
Sounds like the only thing that needs to be dressed up is the sign itself. Breaking it down to, I understand it's 24 square feet is accepted by commercial. Again, being that we're ag-based, we would still have to look for another variance again if we wanted to go down to the 24, say half of that size, or a 6x4 or something like that. Mm-hmm. We would still have to get a variance on that part. So I guess I'd like to make it the easiest way around, and to make it easier on everybody. If me starting all over, and I've been at it for a few months, I'll do it if it's easier that way. It's easier for me to go get my graphic artist and just do 2 poles and show a 4x6 sign on it.
Okay, thank you. That's what I know.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
He's talking about ag-based business. This is a restaurant. Am I reading this correctly? It's a restaurant?
Yes.
So how is a restaurant ag-based? Because there's a barn on the property?
No, ma'am. You should check out the state law. You can run restaurants and those types of operations.
I have no problem with a restaurant, none at all.
On ag land.
I have no problem with that. I'm questioning the ag base. What is giving him his ag basis?
Ma'am?
Are you?
Excuse me,
yes.
Ms. Ford. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I might have said before, but it's under section HRS 205-2, number 15, and that was passed in 2012, allowing agricultural-based commercial on ag land. We are 16 acres, 16.5 acres, and we have claimed our agricultural status, and we are running cattle, sheep, and since this has been enacted since 2012, it's been a law, that's why we're allowed to be able to have a restaurant on our agricultural land.
Let me say this one more time. I do not have any problem with a restaurant on ag land, but I did want to hear your position as why this is an ag-based commercial. I hope the cattle enjoy eating in the restaurant, but oh well.
I don't understand. Excuse me. I don't understand the problem.
Hold on. This is another subject.
Okay, we'll go back to Mr. Kern.
Thank you. I know how hard it is to run a business here. I think we're supportive of local businesses. To have them redo it all the way back would be quite a bit. For me, looking at it, the reso maybe needs a little amendment. But if he brought back this other area where it showed the sign, the graphic artist, and his letter basically explaining what he wanted to, that was palatable, would that not be potentially acceptable for us to look at?
Is that a question directed towards any?
Towards fellow council members.
Okay. Ms. Ford, were you going to answer that question, or were you going to bring up a different point?
You know, if it's the will of the council to let him, you know, amend these things and amend the resolution, I don't know who's going to amend the resolution, but if you want to do it that way, I can survive that. But, you know, he's operating right now under the assumption he can have a 24-square-foot sign. And I haven't agreed to that, and I don't hear anyone else making any comments, yes or no, on that situation. So what I don't want him to have to do is to go out and redo this for 24 square feet, and then we say no again. So we better figure out what we're going to do.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Mr. Kern, you still have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so as far as I'm okay to postpone it, again, I think he has to come back with his best ask. 24 is probably a little bit much for me. I think 16 square feet might be palatable. But I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. So I yield. I'm okay with, again, postponing it and having him resubmit. But really, I think, you know, Ms. Poindexter, this is your district. You should probably chime in the most. I love that drive.
Yeah, I'd like to meet with
Ms. Poindexter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you, Chair Kanuha. Thank you. Sorry about that. So I have a question. So have you, okay, I see the list of the landowners, and did you speak with the McPeaks and all of them, and then the community association there, the Waipio group, and I just want to know, did you get a feel of the community, you know, what's going on?
Well, yes, I have. I have contacted everybody in the immediate area, Ku'ule and Ben, and Lou is involved.
So when did you speak to Auntie Ku'ule?
Well, every day I talk to her or Ben. They're living right across the street from us, over by the cemetery. And then Jolene, I don't know if you know Jolene. She
yeah, I know.
runs
Jolene is my classmate.
She's going to be working with us as well. Bay, her brother's been helping us with this. Lou, Kelly Lou, has been behind us a lot, and I think Kelly Lou's been in the area for all his life. His family worked in the Hamakua ditch.
Yeah, I know them very, very well.
I do have a lot of support in the community. They feel that it's going to be very uplifting for the community. We have,
okay, good.
From what I understand.
I'm glad. And excuse me. So thank you for that. So are they in support of? Did you tell them the size of your sign and where it was going to be, or did you tell them about the project that you were doing with the restaurant?
I talked to him about the project on the restaurant. I was letting him know that I was doing everything to the utmost legal that I can, because it is very important for us to follow the laws. There are other signs that are not following the laws, but they are getting away with it.
Thank you. So you didn't discuss the sign, but you did discuss the project. So thank you for that. So I really would like some time to go back and speak with them, and I'd love to meet with you.
That'd be great.
If possible, if you could call my office so that we could get together.
I'd love it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd love to sit with you. So whatever you decide, I would ask maybe a postponement. Can I? I think 2 weeks. In a matter of 2 weeks, will you be able to come to my office, meet with me, and let's talk, and for me to get some feedback from some of the community members? Is 2 weeks enough time for you?
That's perfect for me, and I'll have. Would you want me to have my graphic artist redo the picture then for the sign, or do you?
Definitely,
I'll
yes.
have that information ready for you.
Yeah, and
so you can see it.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to postpone.
To when?
Till our next meeting.
November 6th.
November 6th.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Poindexter and seconded by Ms. Ford to postpone Resolution 552-14 to November 6th, committee day. Is there any discussion? I did want to say something about the postponement. I should have chimed in earlier, but is that? I'm gonna direct this question to DPW. In the next 2 weeks, when the applicant does change the resolution, will that be enough time for you folks to comment on it?
Yes, right here, just put it.
Yes, I mean, obviously, if it's larger than what's allowed in the zone, we're going to have to recommend that it be denied. So we'll be back here for the variance. But I'd be happy to give you my comments off the record.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion on the postponement?
I just call our office.
Hearing or seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes, please.
That is 8 in favor of postponement. Resolution 552 will be postponed until November 6th.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next resolution, Madam Clerk.